What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast. We talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up?
What's going on? So welcome to Wednesday's episode of the podcast. So Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursday's Ask a CISSP when I have an interview prepped and ready, and then Friday's everything else. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it and getting through the week with us. Hit up all the websites that go by our name, the other side of the firewall.com, as well as ramcyber.io. Always forget to plug those. But without further ado, I give you Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from darkreading.com. Written by Alexander Kulafi. And the title of this one is Gartner, How Security Teams Can Turn Hype into Opportunities. Gartner Security and Risk Management Summit 2025. So the analysts there weighed in on how CISOs and security teams can use security fervor, they call it, around AI and other tech to the betterment of their security posture. So what they're pretty much saying here is try not to scare people about AI, right? Like when it comes to the people in the C-suite and what you need to do, try not to scare them when it comes to what AI can do for you or what is going on about there with AI, because they're racing towards it, right? Like the people in the C-suite, like they see AI and they see the chance for more money to be made, right? Whether it be that, and I don't say this to fear monger, whether it be that they can have less people working for them and AI can do the bulk of the work for them, right? So they're not paying out benefits and salary to some of these people that they're paying it out to. But again, I'm not saying that's totally what it is out there, right? It could be a proficiency thing, right? They want it to be more proficient with what they're doing. But what they talk about in the article, which I disagree with a little bit, right? And I'm interested to hear what your thought is on this, Ryan, because you're kind of you're the AI guy, right? But they talk about how you shouldn't, the way they call it is fear monger, right? When it comes to AI. So don't tell these people in the C-suite and the board, like, hey, we need to run from this, or I need more money for this, that, and the third. They want you to try to make it sound a little bit better. But I think there should be a healthy dose of fear. I'm not saying the fear monger, but there should be a healthy dose of fear in that, hey, this is what can be done and this is what we need. This is why our budget needs to expand or whatever it may need to be, right? But they kind of make it, I don't know. I disagree with them trying to coddle the C-suite to be like, no, this is all good. This is this, that, and the third. It's like, no, there definitely needs to be a healthy amount of fear when it comes to this, because there can be some real damage done if you're not using AI correctly, right? It seems like every month there's some type of story with AI where it's like, are we sure we have the guardrails on correctly? You know what I mean? Like, are we sure we're monitoring like we need to, because you got three of them over here talking to each other in a different language that we don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? It's a little, I don't know. It's a little, I don't want to say precarious. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for, but, yes, you have to play with AI to understand AI, right? I get that. I'm not saying get away from it totally, but you shouldn't be all ahead with it without knowing what's going on with it, or how it reacts to things in your company, like in your businesses. Cause a lot of these businesses are using AI across the board, right? Like your banks, your financial institutions and whatnot. They're using using AI in banking, whether it be to detect fraud, right? To determine whether or not you're a bot, things of that nature. So there are good uses for it. I'm not saying to get away from it altogether, but that's just my thoughts on it. This is where the discussion comes in, right, Ryan? Because I know you're probably going to be on the other side of this, but let us know where you stand at on this, man. Let's know where you at.
So I'm not exactly on the other side of the firewall, right? To bring the brand back. I get what they're saying, but I also kind of disagree. I think our disagreements are different. So there's discussion, right? I think it's a matter of taking advantage of the conversation. Like the big buzz right now is artificial intelligence. It's coming for our jobs. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. So I worked for a bank when I was a teenager, right? 19. Yeah, was I 18, 19? HSBC, right, in Buffalo, New York. And I had a job where I balanced the daily deposits, right? Like, so you would give your checks on the commercial side. I believe I was on the commercial side, not the residential side. Yeah, because I would get bundles of checks. So usually that's commercial, right? So I would get bundles of checks, and then I would have to make sure they all balanced. And then, you find pennies here, pennies there. That usually wasn't that bad, but human beings make errors like the tellers and what have you. And then we make sure we fix it before the night is through. And then when I wasn't doing that, because like snow would hit or something like that, and it would stop the truck, so we'd have to be off the clock. You could do odd jobs. So I would go do microfilm, where I would find people's checks through. And you see it on TV where the people are like flipping through old news articles in libraries, and they have like the little dial. They had that in the bank for people's checks.
The microfiche.
Yeah. So like somebody would say, "Hey, I want a picture of said, check X, Y, or Z." So I would have to flip through the daily checks that came in to find their specific check and take a picture of it, like a snapshot. And then I also did deposits for, they called it at the time, they called it lockbox, for Singular. Like, so Singular was one of our customers. They would drop their checks off too, but they would do it in full envelopes. Like, they would take the daily mail that came in. People would, use the envelope that they sent them with the invoice, and then people would put their check or their money or whatever into the envelope and send it back. And then I would get those at the bank. And there was a machine that would split the letter open, and I would take the money out and make sure it makes sense. Some people would put letters in there because they couldn't pay, right? And I couldn't do it. Like, either I take money or I toss it. So that was I felt bad because people would put like obituaries in there, like, "Hey, my uncle passed away. Stop asking for this money." And unfortunately, that's not a check or money, so it gets pitched in the bin, like our friends over in the UK would say. So that was the sad part about it. But all of these jobs that I'm talking about are eradicated. Like, they've all been replaced by machines way before AI was a buzzword. It's just the evolution of technology. It's not to say that I could never find a job again, right? Like, it's just that these certain jobs are always going to be taken by technology, or they'll be eradicated in some way. Or in this case, AI will start to either augment people, or it'll take away the things that we no longer need to take care of ourselves, and there'll be other opportunities. So I think they're trying to tone down the CISOs to say, like, "Hey, stop pitching this fear, stop making people kind of tune out through your fear mongering." And that goes for anybody who's talking to the C-suite, and start using it to your advantage. Like, this is your Trojan horse now. Now you can push for more money here, right? Because we have to protect ourselves from AI risk, from insider threat due to AI issues, from, like you said, bots attacking us and things of that nature, because AI is just automating, making those things more efficient for phishing campaigns and DDoS attacks and things of that nature. Like, this is your opportunity to start to increase your budgets without causing them to tune out, right? Because if you pass them bad information, if you're always the person who's crying wolf, if you're giving them tools that don't necessarily add value to the organization, then you're not taking advantage of the situation. This is your opportunity to finally increase the coffers. So I agree in that respect, but I think with everything, it's kind of sensationalized. Like, when I think of this, I immediately thought about how it's kind of used in the pulpit, right? Like, not to bring in religion to the conversation, but there's a certain amount of spectacle that goes into there as well, right? Like, how do you catch the people's attention? Like, you can use current events and then, tie them to biblical verses and things of that nature. Like, there's a little bit of pomp and circumstance that happens at the pulpit as well to keep people's attention and to get their buy-in, and get them to, you're a shepherd. You're trying to shepherd them somewhere. So they use that as well, right? There's a little bit of spectacle in there. And I'm sure they'd have the same conversations, like, stop preaching, fire and brimstone all the time, and start tying these events that are happening into service. So that way people can get it.
But you're not totally going away from there's a hell, though, right? That's my point.
Right.
You have to still have a little bit of that fear in there, right? And the way they describe it in the article, it's weird, right? Because we talked about that. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, where I was talking about, hey, you need to go to the C-suite and tell them, hey, this is how money can be made, right? Or this is how it'll affect you monetarily, right? And that's kind of what they go into here. It's like, hey, if you want to do, and they give figures, like, it's 70% is this, 80% is this, and it'll be $1 million, $1.5 million, whatever it may be. Yes, you do have to do that, but you shouldn't make it seem like, if you give me this, everything is all fine and dandy, right? There is no 100% solution. That needs to be presented to them. Like, there is always risk. It will never, unless you get off of the internet, like, And even then, you can't even say that, right? Because there's still social engineering attacks, right? Somebody could walk in with a
Mhm.
custodial uniform, right? And go to your vault and do it the old fashioned way. So this is kind of how it is, man.
Yeah, but I thought it was a good conversation starter to bring in because I've never been in this seat, right? Like I've been VCSO, and you talk to small to medium sized businesses, and you have an agenda, right? You're trying to make them more secure. You're trying to make sure they follow whatever roadmap you've put together for them, and you're trying to get them to a place of better maturity for whatever's coming up, whether it be they're going through some kind of assessment, or they are trying to get over some kind of hurdle where they don't have a lot of documentation, or you're trying to migrate them to, back on prem or off prem into the cloud or whatever. Yeah, you have a plan going in, and then you hope that you steer them in a good direction that doesn't cost them too much money. You have those conversations and things of that nature, but it's different, right? From a VCISO or fractional CISO's perspective, you have multiple clients and you're trying to, shape whatever offerings you have to be specific to them, as opposed to being like, I can only assume being a CISO for a larger organization or a corporation where either way your credibility is always going to be scrutinized. But I feel as though volume takes care of some of that. Like you might have several customers, it might not work out with some of them, unfortunately, for whatever reason, and you get more customers, and you are the company providing said service, right? You are the business to business, as opposed to being in a business where they're like, hey, you suck, and they cut you loose, right? Because your client was your business, your W-2, as opposed to 1099. So I think there's some advantages to that, right? That volume over sole source, like this is my income, and if I rub them the wrong way, they'll let me go, and then I have to start over, and that's a little bit harder because now you don't have a reference, as opposed to, again, you have that volume as a VCs, so it's a little bit more security in that to a certain extent. But it's all about perspective. Like again, I haven't been in that seat where I'm working for just one company. And I would assume as you work your way up those rungs, you are getting that credibility, you're getting that buy-in. But again, I don't know. I've never been there. So it's an interesting conversation to have. But again, you should never pitch fire and brimstone all the time. Because then it doesn't hit home. It's like at home, like if you're always screaming about something, they're like, "Yo, it's Father's Day. We're recording." They're like, "Dad is unstable, right?" You only want to throw a fit when it's necessary. So that way, when it's said, they know. They're like, "Okay, this is important."
It has the important effect that you're looking for, right? It's not a boy who
Yeah.
cries wolf type thing.
Right, right. Yeah, but I think it's a good conversation to be had within there. So I'm glad they brought it up, and I think it does apply to several different instances of you being, like, again, being a CISO, being a VC, being an ISO or ISM. I assume would be very similar as well, right? Like if you're always saying, no, or pitching hell and brimstone, or it even impacting training, right? Like people were just tuning you out because he's like, ah.
But the difference is that we're not in it for the money, right? So for us, what we do, we're not in it for the money, and I have guidance I can go to be like, no, this is what NIST says, this is what the AFI says, right? So like,
Right.
you're gonna do this, or I'm gonna go ahead and disable you and get you off the network.
That is true. Like, yeah, you're not, you don't have shareholders to worry about. It's just like, your badge don't work no more. Get out of here. But definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. So Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays Ask a CISSP, Fridays everything else, movies, books, games, and all that cool stuff. So definitely tune in for that. Hit us up by all the websites that go by our name. You can hit up the websites, theothersideofthefirewall.com, as well as ramcyber.io. And give me a person. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me pretty much everywhere, but LinkedIn is where I'm most responsive. Stay safe. Stay secure.